What's up, Yugi Bros? It's Connor, and I got a interesting video for you guys. I know I'm the last one to post this. I actually saw the info as early as the night previous, but I was working a triple at my job, so I actually didn't have time to post out a video, and by the time I got home, I literally just conked out. I fell asleep. I could not keep my eyes open, so I figured I'd do this while I was fresh, rather than give you a half-assed video. A lot of people have posted this now. I've just got Silver Cards' post on just to talk about it. But the Speed Duel Box 2020, that doesn't come out until November 20th, 2020. It's a little sad that it takes, I think it's going to be like, 5 months until we get this? Maybe 4 months. But either way, I'm really excited to talk about this. So let's get into the article first. It's relive the fierce competition of the Epic Battle City tournament with your friends in the Speed Duel Box. Designed to allow up to 8 players to jump into their own dynamic tournament experience, the Speed Duel Box includes a static pool of 200 cards to construct various popular strategies, from 193 of which are brand new to speed dueling. That's crazy. Whether you prefer to keep the strategies together or draft the card pool between your friends, you decide how to play. So first and foremost, 200 cards in this box that you're going to be getting, 193 of which are brand new to speed dueling. A static pool of 200 cards. So you're going to get all 200 cards in this box guaranteed. And you can, it's designed to allow up to 8 players to jump in and essentially draft. So this is really cool. We have a Speed Duel draft box, something we've needed since the beginning. 193 though, brand new. So we're going to get 7 reprints here. Hopefully they're cards that are like pretty expensive right now, like Night Beam, Floodgate Trap Hole, Parasite Paranoid. But that's really cool that we get that big of a pool in one product. That means the game shifts dramatically. I mean, as it is, Twisted Nightmares and Match of the Millennium shifted the game a lot. But this is gonna shake things up dramatically. The coveted Egyptian God cards finally descend upon Speed Duel. Devastate with Obelisk the Tormentor, overwhelm with Slifer the Sky Dragon, or rule with the Winged Dragon of Ra. Other iconic cards have been introduced, including powerhouses like a Jinzo, Dark Paladin, and XYZ Dragon Cannon. Guys, the God cards in Speed Duels. Like, I saw this and I'm like, that's not real. There's no way they're gonna do that. And sure, it's the watered down versions from real Yu-Gi-Oh! But have you guys read the watered down God cards? So having the God cards, they all require 3 tributes, which is convenient because your field can hold a max of 3 tributes. But like Obelisk and Slifer are pretty good. I get Raw is kind of whatever. It depends where you're at. Obelisk is 4,000 though. Cannot be targeted. You could still special summon these. Obviously, they go to the grave at the end phase. But like, so Shadow Reborn all of a sudden becomes a bit better, because now you can reborn your God cards if you wanted to. And then Obelisk has the extra effect of you contribute 2 monsters to destroy all monsters your opponent controls. You can't declare an attack the turn that was activated, but hey, 4,000 Yu-Gi-Oh! You better not be able to declare an attack like that just to Raigeki your opponent's board. I think Obelisk is the best of the 3, but Slifer has the ability where if a monster is normal or special summoned to your opponent's field in face-up attack position, that monster loses 2,000 attack, and if its attack has been reduced to 0 as a result, destroy it. So now you've got this static, almost like Gravekeeper Oracle effect, every time they normal or special summon something. So anything that just comes out up to 0, or comes out and gets reduced to 0, is just gone. Like, put this against Relinquished, and they can't summon Relinquished without it being immediately destroyed. I guess you have Faceless Magician as your option, but still. No, yeah, because Faceless would come out and then get destroyed, and then that's that. No, yeah, this is kind of ridiculous. I don't know how to feel about this one. And then Slifer having 1,000 attack and defense per card in your hand, that's great and all. Raw's the only one that I feel like is like the fair one here, where if it's normal summoned, you can pay life points so that you only have 100 left, and it gains attack and defense equal to the amount paid. But if you summon it and don't do that, you can pay 1,000 life, target a monster on the field, destroy the target. Whatever. That's not once per turn, so... But, like, again, why wouldn't you just play Obelisk the Tormentor at that point? You get arguably a better effect in that you can wipe out your opponent's board, and you get a 4,000 beat stick at the same time. Raw, I feel like, is definitely the worst of the 3. So now let's talk, for example, decks that can put a bunch of monsters on the field at once. if we go through, there's a plethora of things you can do to bring back extra monsters. Water's got an interesting option between Fishborg Planter. They have Surface, I believe, which is the level 3 or lower monster reborn for waters if you need like an extra tribute. There's always Slushy if you want. If this requires a little bit more setup, but if you have 3 Slushies and banish one to summon a Sea Serpent, like that's another free material. Zombies have Book of Life. They have Haunted Shrine to bring back things continually. King of the Skull Servants can keep surviving if you banish a Skull Servant in the graveyard. As far as token generators go in this game, currently we have Stray Lambs, which obviously is going to take a bit of setup because you'd have to let them survive. Wormbait's an option. The Golden Apples is a much lesser option, but it still works nonetheless. Spider Egg does summon 3 spider tokens. When your opponent declares an attack and you have 3 or more insects in the graveyard, you can negate the attack and summon 3 spider tokens in attack position. Hopefully you can wall so much so that you contribute all 3 tokens the following turn for an Egyptian god. Limit Impulse from way back in the beginning, where you send 2 cards from your hand to the grave to special summon 2 tokens. They can't be tributed except for tribute summon, but that works in this case. And then there's always the Jirak monster, Storiko, where if it dies by battle, you get 2 Jirak tokens. We might have to become a little bit more clever when it comes to that. But tokens, I feel like, definitely get better if you're going to try to go the God card route. Another option is the trap monsters. So we have Zoma the Spirit, and I feel like getting all this other stuff in here, we'll probably have Embodiment of a Pulpus in the new box set, which is just a trap monster that comes out at 1600. It's nothing great. But we have Metal Reflex Slime, which doesn't see a lot of play right now, but it's got 3k defense, so if you really want to wall up against your opponent, this is kind of good for that. Also, it's a water, so you could throw it in the water deck if you wanted to. I know this isn't the best option, but Toon Mermaid special summons itself as opposed to normal summons itself when you drop it to the field. Obviously, this requires a lot more setup, and you have to have Toon World on the field. It's not like you can summon these without Toon World. They kind of need to be there. Same with Summon Skull. But, you know, they're just the option of free special summons. And then going through, just generically, if you go through like the special summons options that we currently have, Village can recur Amazonist if you need more tributes. Apprentice replaces itself with a level 2 or lower Spellcaster. Cool idea, Enchanted Fitting Room, where you'd pay 800 and then excavate 4 cards. If you hit like 3 normal monsters just off of this alone, that's 3 tributes for your gods. It's an interesting concept. Gillosaurus special summons itself from your hand. The downside is if your opponent has any monster in the grave, they can special summon that as well. But if you need the free tribute, like, it's definitely there. If your opponent's trying to swing into you, you got Gentlemander to redirect the attack. Hopefully they don't then kill this or something. Also, if you drop double the Gentlemander, then you perform the lock where they can't attack your monsters. Same goes for like Warrior decks and Command Knight. But again, that requires a little bit more setup, although you could Gentlemander and Command Knight, and that's a thing. Not that I think this is a fantastic option, but Puppet Master, when it's tribute summon, you can pay 2,000 life points to target 2 fiends in your grave and special summon both targets. But this does have to be tribute summon, so it's taking your normal summon there. So again, it requires a bit more setup. Gravekeepers have the upside of Rite of Spirit. In addition to that, you could also play Shadow Reborn in Gravekeepers. You could also play Rope of Life, for example, which again is a bit worse, but you know, there's still an option. You could play it's called the Haunted Skill of all things to bring something back, though I think at that point you should just play Shadow Reborn. And then we have cards such as like Time Machine, where if something dies by battle, you can bring it back. Like Shallow Grave, same thing. This just gives you a monster back as long as your opponent has one in the graveyard as well, and then you could just tribute the face-down monster that you brought back. But there's not like a super, like Spider Egg to me is one of the easiest ways to get 3 tokens, as long as the tokens then don't get attacked. But Metal Reflex Slime and Zoma the Spirit, I feel like, are good options just because one has a huge defense and the other one has a really good effect that's relevant to the game right now. So there are a lot of options to summon the God cards in Speed Duels. But back on the subject of, do I think it's going to be too overpowered or not? I think Obelisk definitely has the ability because it can't be targeted. Slifer has a really good continuous effect in that the 2,000 or less drop, but you have to keep card advantage in hand to keep it to be a relevant big monster. However, in Speed Duels right now, if you have at least 2 cards in hand, it's not that terrible. But if you're also backing it up with something like Sphere Karibo or any other defense, Nightmare Wheel, etc., like, at least you have that as a backup until they get rid of it. That continuous effect's going to ride the game, basically. But Obelisk, in terms of just brute force, can't be targeted 4,000, and has a Raigeki effect if you need it to go off. I feel like the Raigeki effect's literally the the least of your concerns with just a 4,000 monster that can't be targeted. Like, literally, because the game is 4,000 Yu-Gi-Oh! If this thing just attacks, that's game. Attacks directly, that's game. In one shot. It also gets over Dark Moth, which is kind of funny. If people start playing Obelisk as an out, I think they're just going to be better outs. But I could definitely see Obelisk being competitive, and that's scary to think about in speed duels. I expected more Battle City cards. I didn't expect us to get the God cards. That was just something really surprising. Now, so let's talk about the other powerhouses that it talks about. Dark Paladin, XYZ Dragon Cannon, and Jinzo. I'm going to start with Dark Paladin. It's a fusion of Dark Magician and Buster Blader, but its effect is, if a spell is activated, quick effect, you can discard a card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. So it negates spell cards straight up. This is also going to be a decent Awaken the Dragon target. But also, it gains the 500 attack for each dragon monster on the field and in the graveyard. And that's both players, fields and graves. So in a dragon matchup, it gets bigger than something like Blue Eyes with just one dragon somewhere. So that's pretty cool. But the big thing is, are they going to give us the skill to tutor this out a lot quicker? And I would assume they would. They've kind of done it for every other boss monster of Yugi's and Kaibas so far. So I expect it. Plus they did say Yugi and Kaiba get skills. But I'll touch on that in a second. XYZ Dragon Cannon is interesting because you give Yugi one of his iconic fusions. Now you're giving Kaiba another iconic fusion. But to have XYZ Dragon Cannon in the game means that they're going to put X Head Cannon, Y Dragon Head, and Z Metal Tank in the game. And that's the new introduction to unions to speed duels. And I'm super pumped for this. There's a lot of things you can do with unions. Specifically, let me get off the speed duel option here. Whoops. And let's just... Now, if I type in union monster, we're going to get way too many options. But let's just go through things that obviously could come and things that probably won't. We know ABC Buster Dragon's not going to be. It's going to be the XYZs for sure. Heavy Mech Support Armor might get thrown in, which I think would be really good, but this might be too good too early, where it reborns a union from your graveyard. But there are a lot of things that work with light unions. Union Hanger would be an interesting twist. I don't think they'd put this in there. That'd probably be too good. But Union Hanger does work with X, Y, and Z. It's just that, like, this came out for ABC, so obviously we were all playing it with that. But Union Hanger for X, Y, and Z seems really good. It can get you quicker to the plays that you need. There's also the option of them throwing in the Ojamas, which I don't think they're going to do yet because they're talking Battle City. But there's always the Ojama ABC or XYZ stuff that is very interesting. If you go through traps, yeah. So see, it depends how. There's always the Hold on, let's type in. There it is. Union Scramble. Target 3 of your banished light machine normal monsters and or light machine union monsters, special summon them, and then during either player's turn, except the turn this was sent to the grave, you can banish it from your grave, then target one of your banished light machine normal monsters or light machine unions, and return it to the hand. Also a very strong card. I don't know if Speed Duels would bring that in, but if they did, and you summoned XYZ Dragon Cannon, and then in the future activated this, like let's say the end phase for example, and summon the 3 back, you contribute all 3 for a God card. Just saying. It's probably too strong. They probably won't bring that in, but it could be an option. Formation Union's probably something we'll see. It's a much worse version of future Union support, where you can either equip a Union on your side of the field to the appropriate target or unequip it. I think the same goes for, we'd probably get Frontline Base, which would be awesome, where it's once per turn you can special summon a level 4 lower Union monster from your hand. That'd be really cool. I think that'd be solid. Unauthorized reactivation, again, I don't think we'll get something like that too early. That just came out in regular Yu-Gi-Oh! But it's more like a Union Hanger as a quick play spell. But there are definitely some Union things that would make this game very interesting. You get all these like random Unions, like Armor Breaker and Peacekeeper. I forgot that was even a thing. There it is. Heavy Mech Support Platform, where you target, put it, gives it 500 attack. If it's a turbo battle or card effect, you can try this instead. This would probably be the one we'd see before we see this one. But it'd be cool to see both. Although I think if this one came out, you would just never play this. You never know. But lastly, let's talk about the third and final powerhouse that they brought up here and confirmed for the set, Jinzo. Jinzo Ningen. Seems kind of OP. We don't even have Summon Skull yet. But we got Jinzo confirmed. I'd be amazed if they didn't put Summon Skull in this box. Jinzo negating all trap cards. I mean, for the format currently, it's a hell of a side deck for Zoma and Nightmare Wheel, and this might be the option to get rid of those. I thought they'd bring something in like Fairy Wind as a way to counteract continuous face-up continuous spells and traps, but Jinzo is also an option. And they announced that Esperoba gets a skill. If we continue on reading here, with skill cards for many legendary duelists from the anime, you can duel as some of your favorite characters, harness Yami-Yugi's bold tactics. I feel like we'll get a paladin skill there. Kaiba's calculated power, we'll get an XYZ. Union skill probably there. Or experience the darker side of the villainous Esperoba, Odeon, Ishtar, Arcana, and more. So Esperoba gets a skill. Not that I think Jinzo needs a skill. Jinzo's already really powerful, and what are you going to do? Make it so that it works as Amplifier? Because if so, that's kind of insane. I expect Amplifier to be in this set as well, unless, of course, they make it a skill. But if they make any sort of way to get like to Jinzo faster than you already could just by hard drawing it in speed duels, this is going to be some nutty plays. Odeon Ishtar, I mean, I don't think they'd make a Gravekeeper card for him, but Odeon never had like a specific there was the Millennium, not Millennium Scorpion, the Mystical Beast of Circuit that worked with Temple of the Kings. It'd be interesting to know what they do there. However, I could see Odeon having a Winged Dragon of Ra skill, which I don't know how to feel about, because he did summon Ra, although Ra didn't obey him very much, but he did summon it. And then Arcana giving Dark Magician, or at least spellcasters in general, another skill. I'm interested to see what that would do. But continuing on here, each speed duel box contains 20 skill cards, 16 of which are brand new. 20 skill cards, guys. So in addition to your 200 cards that you're guaranteed, you get 20 skills, 16 of which are brand new. I want to believe that the 4 here that are going to get reprinted are the 4 that were the sneak peek promos for Trials of the Kingdom, one of which is Ritual Ceremony, which is that like $20, like if I go to TCG real quick. I touched on this in one of my market watches, where this card is just a ridiculous price because it works really well in Relinquished right now. So the other 3 from this weren't really interesting. Digging for Gold, I think, was the next best one, and that's not that great. But Ritual Ceremony, for example, was just really pricey because once per duel, you can reveal a Relinquished essentially and add a Black Illusion Ritual to your hand. And unlike Thousand Eyes Spell, where if you have to discard to do the ritual summon and then you can't perform the battle phase in the same turn, this just doesn't have a set requirement outside of you having the monster. There's no downside to it, so that's why it was really good. So I expect the 4 skills there to be the 4 that, were hard to get through those. But 16 brand new skills. So they mentioned Arcana, Odeon, Esperoba, Kaiba, Yugi. That's 5. So that means there's still at least 11 more that we don't know what we're getting or what the characters are going to be, so that'll be really cool. But continuing, fully customize your strategy even further with special effects unique to Speed Duel, giving you endless hours of deck building experience. I love endless hours of deck building experience. I want more endless hours of deck building experience. Why did you have to release this in November? It's July. We're going to have to wait a while for those guys. This is the only thing I've always had a gripe with, is that their release dates between Speed Duel stuff is too long. I understand the card pool is getting bigger, so we'll have a bit longer to have these formats, but I guarantee you 2 months from now, we will be so sick of the current format and want something new, based on just how we've gone through regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets new stuff every 3 weeks, basically, these days. Now, I think that's a little too quick, but with Speed Duels, the card pool is much, much smaller, so 3 weeks actually gives you a decent amount of time. Again, I wouldn't want 3-week releases in Speed Duels. I'd want, like, 2-month releases in Speed Duels. 2 to 3 months, probably 2 months. I think 3, you get pretty bored. But like I said, 2 months from now, we're going to be really bored of this current format, and we're going to be looking forward to this new stuff. But I don't want to playtest stuff in here like the gods and stuff yet, because we don't know what else we're getting. So for all we know, there's more token generators coming that are just going to be way quicker to use for tributes and stuff like that. Alright, moving on to this. Kaiba hosted the Battle City tournament to claim the legendary Egyptian god cards as his own. So it would only be fitting for you to duel for exclusive prizes of your own as well. To top off the Speed Duel box, a special prize pack will be included with 8 secret rares from a box from a pool of 24 cards. So we get secret rares and speed duels. We've never had secret rares and speed duels before. Channel your inner rare hunter and upgrade some of the most iconic cards in dueling history, along with other fan favorites, to the highest speed duel rarity ever released. So it says the most iconic cards in dueling history, but it's under speed duel. So I assume this is just going to be reprints. But it could be wrong. This could be where the gods end up in here, meaning you're only getting 8 of 24. This box does go for $30. So if these are, for example, the god cards, you may not be guaranteed the gods, for example. And let's just say like Obelisk sees competitive play, and you buy the box for $30 and you don't pull it. Well, it's stuck behind a $30 paywall that you're not guaranteed. That could actually hold some serious money and speed. But they're secret rare, so I'm not sure if the secret rares are only referring to reprints, such as something like Nightbeam or Floodgate or whatever, or it includes the cards that are in here as well. I'm not exactly sure on that, but it'll be interesting to see for sure. But this way, at least there's something to chase, because everything else it's said so far was guaranteed. The 200 commons, the 20 skill cards, the game mats, which I'll talk about in a second. But the 8 of 24 secrets, that way you have something to fight for, and buying this for $30 doesn't just net you everything. Granted, it nets you almost everything, and if you buy 3 of these, you'll have playset of everything, assuming everything is a one-of. But the cool part is, too, if you buy 3 of, you have a chance of hitting all 24 of 24. Granted, I don't think that's possible, but I guess we'll find out. But lastly here, you can distribute them as prizing in your own tournament, so if you draft it like I said in the beginning, or give one to each of the participants, which I think is really cool too. So it does give you 8, so if you draft with up to 8 people, each player can get one to start with, or you could use it as prizing, or I like this last one here, or just keep them all for yourself. So, like I said, to recap, 200 commons, 20 skill cards, 8 of 24 secret rares, so that's 228 cards that you're going to be getting total. And then 4 2-player deluxe game mats. We haven't had a 2-player speed duel mat, from what I remember anyways, at all yet. But this gives you 4 2-player mats, which, if you have 8 players, this covers all 8 of them. But if you don't, this is extra game mats. And I like this because Konami has never done something where they barely release mats, and I think they should do that more often. They did it with the Ash Blossom mat last year, and that was really nice. I think they should do that more often, because a lot of players or a lot of new people into Yu-Gi-Oh! Will come up to me at my job all the time and ask, do you guys have any play mats that we could buy? And other than the crappy paper mats, I really want to hand them a rubber mat, but most of the time I'll be like, no, sorry, we don't have any rubber mats, because there's no easy to get rubber mat for distribution. We had the Ash Blossom mat, and that sold out in like a week, I think. So I think it would be really good if Konami did this with regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Too, but I'm glad to see them start to do it with speed duels. 4 2-player deluxe game mats. That's really nice. So let's say you buy this box for just yourself, you keep one, and then you have the other 3 for other players if they ever want to try it. So this is by far the best speed duel product I have ever seen, or at least heard of so far. I guess it'll depend on what the cards are in it, but I can't imagine this being a flop at all. I think this is really cool. I think this is something you definitely buy 3 of to have 3 of everything, and try to get your 24 of 24 secrets. But if you don't, there's always the chance of just, buy another one and see what you can do with that, and then you have trade fodder and speed duels. I really like when everything's guaranteed. Like I've said this on my channel in the past, I like the decks better than a box, better than a booster box. The decks allow you to play at the maximum skill level, where you just spend $30 or $60 and then you have all the decks, versus buying boxes. You'll have way too many copies of the commons and barely enough to hit a playset of like supers and ultras. I just like this setup better for something like this, where it's like its own format. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm sorry this video came out so late, but like I said, I wanted it to be fresh and not groggy. But yeah, this is super interesting. I can't wait for this. I really want to start playtesting with the things that it announced, but I feel like it's really bad. Oh, one thing though. I really hope Konami releases a spoiler for this way before it actually releases. I would like to know what we're messing with. I get that they're probably not going to do it right now because they don't want people to divert away from the current format that we're in. and it's usually not Konami style to release spoilers until like a few weeks beforehand anyways. They've been pretty good on speed duels. Sometimes I think we got one thing like a month before a release. I would hope that they would, with 193 cards, new cards to show us, and skills as well, I would love for them to like release little breadcrumbs every now and then, give us a few new cards that, you know, are in it like week to week. That'd be pretty cool to be expecting. But hey, whatever, right? This is promising. I was worried that because we didn't get any announcement after the new decks or a new OTS pack, I was worried that they were going to slow speed duels, or maybe it just wasn't going to continue. I was also going to release, originally my Friday video was going to be what I thought, my next predictions for what I thought the super rares and ultra rares were going to be in the third tournament pack, even though we still don't have an announcement as to whether we're getting a tournament pack or not. But this kind of throws my ideas out the window, because there were some reprints that I wanted to see that could easily just be in here as one of the 7 cards that are reprints in the commons, or maybe a secret rare, something like this. I know usually the tournament packs don't reprint like the hard to get stuff, at least not yet. They've kind of just more or less foiled out things that weren't previously foil. So I'll have to redesign that video a little bit because now this exists. But maybe in the future we talk about what could be in this. Definitely we're going to get some Union support for sure. I don't expect Paladin to be the only Yugi thing. I definitely expect more stuff on that. Jinzo is scary as hell, and I guess we'll see what we get with those. And these 3, man, I don't even know where to begin with the gods in speed duels. It sounds so fake, but it's so real, and it's very interesting to me. So, as always, guys, comment, like, and subscribe. Please click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates, and I will see you guys in the next video.